Okay, guys, I wanted to talk a little bit about the firewall that's built into Ubuntu called UFW. Not exactly sure what that stands for, but it's the standard firewall that's installed, but if I understand correctly, disabled by default. And maybe it's only disabled by default on certain installs. So I'm not really sure what the rules are for that, but we just got done installing a shell that we can run in the browser to access our machine. And then the video after that, we did a reverse Nginx proxy to kind of route to that Node.js application, and also showed you guys how to make sure to get those WebSockets working as well. So at the moment, we have three ways we can access this box. And obviously the first way is we can SSH into it using, any terminal from our local machine. So in this case, we can do SSH root at 10.0.0.35, password, and we're in there. We also have direct access to the Node.js application at the port that it's open at 2222. And then of course we have access to that through the reverse proxy. Well, the reason that I wanted to wait until I got all this set up to talk to you guys about this is, why would I want to set up all of this, outside of just the fact that it was educational and fun and examples of how you would set certain things up? Well, there's actually a good reason to even do this. And that is, I have a couple of servers that I manage, and pretty much every single one of them that I've ever left SSH up and running on, everybody knows that if you got a server running Linux, it's probably got an open port at port 22. And so I see a lot of system log entries from IP addresses attempting to log in using the root user through SSH, and obviously attempting some form of a password attack. It's sort of brute force. Obviously, it's rate limited. The servers these days are pretty good at detecting, any kind of intrusion such as that, but I still see it in my logs and it concerns me. So what I usually end up doing is I actually end up shutting off SSH. I shut the whole thing right down. I'll do something along the lines of, system control SSH, or disable SSH. I'm not going to do that right now because the shell that we just set up needs SSH in order to run, which is fine. But what if you could disable SSH and still have access to your terminal through this web application? Well, there's a way, and that's through the use of a firewall. And Ubuntu Firewall is actually incredibly easy to set up. So we can actually limit the possible ways to connect to this box to just what we have set up on our reverse Nginx server, by just setting up a firewall that only allows connections to this machine through ports 80 and through the SSL port 443. So here's how we're going to do that. I can pick any one of these terminals, but I'm going to pick this one. And we are going to do, and actually it'll fail after I set this up. So let's see how this works. We're going to do UFW status, and we'll see right now it's inactive. Okay. And if we do UFW help, we can get a list of commands that we can use. And in general, most installs are going to have some kind of profiles for standard applications, and Nginx does. So if we do UFW app list to list application profiles, we'll see that Nginx full is in there, as well as the individual components of HTTP or HTTPS, which is port 80 and port 443 respectively. Full has both. So we can do this right now. It's disabled. We're going to do UFW allow open quote Nginx full. Okay, so the rules are updated. They've been added. Now I'm going to do UFW enable. And it's going to say right there, command may disrupt existing SSH connections. And it absolutely will, because the only rule is just port 80 and port 443. So this terminal that I just SSH'd into should fail pretty quickly. So let's hit yes. Firewall is active and enabled on system startup. Let's see if I can LS. All right, so far I'm LSing cd/ls. Okay, it looks like it's holding open for a little while there, but obviously if I exit, right, and then I SSH back in, it'll probably just fail right there. Yeah, see how it's just taking forever? And actually, you can see this one that was being accessed to the terminal application through the port 2222. Right down here, WebSocket server disconnected, ping timeout. Okay, refresh. And this is going to take forever. It's never going to load. All right, well, what about our reverse proxy? Is that still working? Let's see, cd/ls. Oh, cool. How about UFW status? Yeah, okay, UFW status is working. This is great. So now what we've done is we've successfully limited the only terminal that we can use to access this application. And of course, this terminal is, authenticated, meaning you can't just go to /shell and expect to get a root access shell to my machine. You actually have to know the username and password. And I could further disable that too, right? I could go into SSH and actually disable the root user altogether, which would not allow a root user login through that at all. So I would have to log in using somebody else's, using a regular user. And then from there, if that user had sufficient privileges, I could of course do sudo, or maybe even switch the user over to root from that point. But the main thing is, with this setup, all those requests from China and overseas where they're trying to brute force your box through SSH using the root user account, well, it's really hard to do that if they can't even open the port because it's not listening on it, or at least it's firewalled. In this case, it is listening because that's how this is being accessed through the reverse proxy. But it's not open to the world. It's not open to the public. So just wanted to give you guys a quick little rundown on that. You can find lots of information on the Ubuntu firewall. I'm going to go ahead and leave this up and running just like this. I've got my firewall enabled now. So the only thing that is open on this box right now is Nginx, port 80, and port 443. And I guess for now that's good, but we'll keep that in mind as we go forward. If we open up an application where we want to add that, I'll make sure to include that in that video. So for now, that's all I've got on firewalls. We'll talk to you guys later.